قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All the praise and all the glory is due to Allah, and I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his last prophet and messenger. Our respected brothers and sisters in Islam, recently we have heard about the publication of a book which is issued by the Ministry of Waqfs. And this book was specifically titled as Hijab or Niqab, whether it is a tradition or it's a custom or it's an act of worship. The conclusion, and this book actually included some of the religious opinions of some of the prominent scholars in Egypt. It included some also of the conclusions. One of those conclusions maintained is that niqab is not an act of worship and it's not relevant to religious practices, and this is only a custom or a tradition which is received from the pre-Islamic period of ignorance, or it is related to the Bedouins, how to cover their heads, and it's not a part of civilization. And they said also that it is not a part of maintaining freedom of opinion, because it's against freedom, and this is against the nation or against the state. This is briefly the basic conclusions of that book, and it's unfortunately that it was published by the formal authorities in Egypt here. I would like actually to provide a correction or a refinement of the misconception which is raised in that book. First of all, we cannot actually make a religious verdict without knowledge which is substantiated and supported by the Quran or the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, blessings and peace of Allah be upon him. The first point or the first argument which may be raised against this opinion, it's not a religious fatwa or religious verdict, it's just a normal opinion. The first argument that may be raised is that we witness in our legal documents and the books of the scholars of Islamic jurisprudence that there is a great disagreement among the scholars whether niqab is an obligation or it is a recommendation. That's enough at the beginning to say that if the scholars differed about the hukm or the legal value of niqab, whether it is obligatory or it's recommended, so when they are differing, they differ only about the legal rulings. They differ about acts of worship. They do not actually differ on traditions or in customs or things which are related to the Quran and the Sunnah. Moreover, even if we submit that niqab is a tradition or a custom, you can say that there are a lot of practices that were widespread in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance. And Islam and those customs and traditions, when Islam came, it took different positions. Sometimes it overruled the practice or the custom. Like for example, burying the girl is alive, Islam actually overruled and cancelled that practice. There are some other practices which were supported by Islam and they became acts of worship and they became principles of Islam sometimes of its practices, like the asaba, or that the closest male can receive the remaining part of the deceased person's estate. This asaba was one of the practices which were widespread in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance, but when Islam came, it supported that, substantiated it, and it became a part of the system of inheritance in Islam. And also, such is the case of when somebody committing murder, maybe by mistake, and then his relatives can actually pay the blood money on his behalf. This practice is not originally, it was actually found before Islam, and then it became widespread. This is in case we submit that it is a custom or it's a tradition. We can actually also raise the question, from where can a person say that niqab is a tradition or it's just a custom of a group of people? Well, the whole ummah since the time of the Prophet Muhammad, blessings and peace of Allah, was practicing niqab, and we have even the supporters of niqab, they provided more than 10 evidences, 10 proofs, either in the Quran or in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the top of them, the explanation of Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, who said in commenting on the ayah of Surah Al-Ahzab, وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ, the ayah of Surah, the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah An-Nur, and also in Surah Al-Ahzab, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كل المؤمنين يقول الله عز وجل بسم الله يا أيها النبي كل أزواجك وبناتك ونساء المؤمنين يدنين عليهن من جلابيبهن. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding the Prophet himself to tell the believing women and to tell his wives, first and foremost, to cover their faces. This is the explanation of Abdullah ibn Abbas, and he is a companion, and he was he is the most authentic interpreter of the Quran al-Kareem. So we cannot say that niqab is just a tradition or a custom without providing a proof for this claim. The whole heritage of Islamic jurisprudence provided us a controversy or even a disagreement among the scholars, which provide that they differed not in its permissibility, whether it is permissible or it is disliked. They differed whether it is obligatory or it is recommended. So they actually held it as an act of worship. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, even it is one of the rites of Hajj, pilgrimage, that the women can actually, and they must uncover their faces, unless they are afraid of having some men going around, as we know from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which consequently it is known by logic and even by common sense that before Hajj they are required actually to cover their faces or to wear the niqab, and there are other proofs for this. So we cannot in fact say that niqab is just a custom without providing a proof, because it is a part of the acts of worship according to the Quran, according to the Sunnah, according to the practice of the Muslims. And the Prophet ﷺ does not accept anything tacitly, or he does not agree on doing something without being a pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or an act of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, arguing for the point of whether this is for the benefit of the nation or for the community or not, we can say that hijab and niqab is one of the distinguishing features of the identities of a Muslim woman. Moreover, it is a protection for the whole system of chastity. A Muslim woman is known for her chastity. And we can ask the question, seeing the women naked on the TVs and everywhere and in the streets, is it for the benefit of the society? And we have evil consequences resulting, for example, of raping and having a lot of diseases spreading in the community, mainly because of sufur, because of removing the chastity and the veil of chastity. And this is one of the evil inspirations and ways of the shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, يا بني آدم لا يفتننكم الشيطان كما أخرج أبويكم من الجنة ينزع عنهما لباسهما ليريهما سوآتهما. O sons of Adam, do not let the shaitan seduce you by making you remove your clothes and garments of chastity. So in conclusion, we can say that the differences of the scholars throughout the ages on whether hijab is obligatory or recommended, finding it in all of our books, being supported by the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's a practice during the whole ummah throughout the ages, provide that it is not a custom. It is one of the acts of worship that draws a person closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is related to the system of purifying the whole society and the Muslim community. Applying or taking one side, one of the opinions which does not support the hijab and satisfied only with the, which does not support the niqab and only satisfied with the hijab, does not necessarily mean that, or claiming that it is a custom devoid of being an act of worship which draws a person closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First, and at the end, we can say that we cannot receive our impressions or our religious knowledge about Islam except from those people who are trustworthy and they are receiving the knowledge through the basics and primary sources, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I ask Allah to shower His mercy upon all of us and to accept all of our good deeds. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.